Hi, my name's Andrea Reid-Kelly and I have Noonan Syndrome. I found out when I was 16 that I had Noonan Syndrome and now I'm 51. So I was diagnosed with Noonan Syndrome at 16 years old. Came as a bit of a bolt out of the blue as a result of a chance comment my mum made with the doctor. I was angry about it at first, but then felt very, very empowered by knowing about it and then finding out about how it impacts me and why I am the way I am, and came to love it. I used to say, why am I such a freak? Why am I so different? I felt odd, I felt bizarre. After I had the diagnosis, within a few months, I felt like, well, this is why, and it's okay. It's okay to be different. And I really embraced it, and I'm really grateful that I knew. I'm really grateful to have known. I don't think at that point in history, I would have easily got a diagnosis, because they would have been looking at the more severe end of learning. You're really thinking about children that don't make it past early childhood at that point that would be getting diagnosis. And when I think back, so many chance remarks from my mum made a massive difference in my life. So my mum was at first quite concerned because she was reading medical literature about Noonan Syndrome, and she found it really upsetting because it was quite, a lot of the cases were very significantly more severe than myself. She wanted to protect me from that, so didn't always share that literature with me. So over time I read more and I found more. But I think she was right to do that, even though I was frustrated with her. Get it! Noonan Syndrome itself is caused by a genetic change. So I like to think of myself as a mutant because I like sci-fi and that's great for me. I'm probably out of date, but I think we've got about 17 different genes that have been identified as causes of Noonan Syndrome, and they're all on a particular genetic pathway called the ROS/MAC pathway. My genome has been tested against all the known genes that have caused Noonan Syndrome, and I haven't got any of those. It's a different gene change that's caused my form of Noonan Syndrome, so we're still looking for that. Both the girls were seen clinically because we can't get a genetic diagnosis for me. We can't test them genetically to find out if they've got Noonan Syndrome. They've got a clinical all clear, but I really don't think that Francesca is all clear. I think she's got very, very mild Noonan Syndrome. She was born with a murmur, but that cleared up, and quite normal for babies for that to happen, so it could be just coincidence. But her learning profile is very similar to mine. For me and my family, I need a genetic diagnosis. I need to find out what the gene is that's caused my form of Noonan Syndrome, because I need to know whether Francesca has Noonan Syndrome or not. I'm really convinced she has Noonan Syndrome. We won't know until we find the gene for me. So for me now, I feel like I'm informed enough to manage Noonan Syndrome and to understand potential future health issues for me, and I'm comfortable with that. But for me now, I need a genetic diagnosis. Sorry. Because it's not a big deal for me if she's got Noonan Syndrome, but she needs to understand it. Sorry, I'm going to have to stop. If she has Noonan Syndrome, no matter how mildly she has it, if she has a child with Noonan Syndrome, any one of her children could have it as well. It's a 50-50 chance each time for her if she's got the gene change. Each of those children could have a varying form of Noonan Syndrome. She needs to be prepared for that. And she needs to be able to make those choices for herself. If we find the gene that's caused my form of Noonan Syndrome, and it's the first time that gene is diagnosed in anyone or found in anyone, that can then be diagnosed in so many more people. So conversations about rare genetic diseases and ways of getting this into the public domain is really, really important, because there's very little research that happens for different rare diseases, because it's all dependent on money. The rare diseases need different treatments, require different, pharmaceutical support. And if you've got a rare disease, pharmaceutical companies are not necessarily motivated to do work around and research around supporting someone that is maybe, you know, like there's 3 in the country that need that medical support. So, you know, they're not motivated by that. And that's why we need concerted will on the part of the public to drive research and support, medical support, social support for those of us that have rare diseases.